Now, SoaR Game 2, though, may be a different story. I expect to see a lot of wall coverage early on, and if there isn't wall coverage, they'll definitely have a better matchup in the jungle this time round than what they walked into last game. I think AWARE just abused the situation they didn't expect. A lot of people call it cheese invading, but at the same time, if you can recognize it and do it, you should do it.
Well, we can talk about it all day long, but let's go ahead and jump into the second game, picks and bans.
Picks and bans on your screen one more time. AWARE Gaming with the first option this time round. SoaR Gaming will be on the Chaos time.
I'm going to go ahead and get for that first pick, first ban, AWARE Gaming. If you're them, what do you go ahead and try to prioritize versus SoaR Gaming? You saw them for the first game, but...
Well, the funny thing is that Ao Kwang was left up through the whole of that phase, so was LayersOD. We didn't see either of those. We saw SoaR Gaming prioritize the Guan Yu, that really never made an impact in that game whatsoever. But because it's this time round, they don't want to first pick it themselves. They're looking for a priority pick if possible.
Fafnir going to get banned out by SoaR Gaming. Not going to see him in any of these sets, or not this set at least so far.
It's not often you get to see Fafnir these days. He's got a very low win ratio in the SPL. Start the SCL, he's not going to get picked up too much. A lot of teams recognize just how strong he is at the moment.
And going to be a little bit more of a niche pick at that point. Bacchus banned out. Not going to deny
Nemesis.
SoaR. There you go. You're like, it's like you're reading their mind, man.
Can see it coming a mile away. If Nemesis gets through, he's going to get locked in. Fantastic ultimate early game. Low cooldown on it as well. Shreds protections, does decent damage. It's a great setup tool for any other god you want.
I mean, and you're banning out the Bacchus, who's very in your face, very aggressive, so not really going to have to worry about that as much, who's kind of a good counter to Bacchus, or kind of a good counter to Nemesis.
Can slow it down, you can catch her during the dash as well if you're very, very lucky with that one. But SoaR going to go for a dominant solo lane this time around. Obviously, they went for the Amaterasu last game because they didn't get the option of picking first in the Raven.
Right.
So this time around, they're going to make sure Uzzy gets something very strong in that solo lane.
I mean, and Ravana can be very devastating, a very in-your-face bruiser as well. Even though you ban out the in-your-face support, there's still lots of aggressive picks that SoaR can come in, 0 to 100.
Yeah, they're taking a long time out of this one, SoaR, because they're not sure about where they want to go with this. I want to potentially see a Raijin come out here this time round for Chapo in the mid, if he can play it, but instead they're going to go for the Athena.
Yep, Athena going to be locked in. Those taunts can be very useful, especially into Ravana or anything else that the SoaR Gaming are going to bring out. High, heavy damage bursts.
I like the Athena pick just for the simple reason you take it away from AWARE there, because AWARE picked it last game, had a very good set with it, good initiations with the taunts always on point coming out from Kenshin. Take it away and make sure Kenshin has to pick something he might not be as comfortable with.
Geb getting locked in for AWARE Gaming. Haven't seen him in a while.
Bit of a surprise to see the Geb pick up here. Obviously, he's not as mobile as he used to be. However, he's not got a threat of dealing with a Nemesis so far, which isn't so bad. Nemesis against Geb is not something you want to be as a Geb, guaranteed.
Very true. And Zeus getting picked up as well. Good for that mid lane. Lots of damage. And then you're going to have Nemesis coming in to help peel for you, obliterate anybody that wants to go against you, and Geb shield.
The problem with AWARE Gaming this so far, though, is that composition. It's not that easy to find kills and set up for each other. You can blink initiate as Geb, but that's pretty much it. Unless you're going to have Nemesis run into them and ult, it's going to be very difficult for them to really find picks early on. This looks like they're going for a very team-focused composition.
SoaR Gaming finishing up their first pick phase with a Susano. Lots of damage, lots of peel, lots of mobility.
But the problem is now is that because they've drafted those gods, the mages are a vulnerability, so SoaR Gaming could have them banned against them from AWARE Gaming. I like the Odin ban coming out straight away from SoaR. Obviously, they don't want to have Athena, Susano, and Ravana all trapped inside that ring.
I mean, you don't want to have to burn those ults, so that's pretty smart pick coming out from them. And Raijin, that's what I wanted to see, banned out by AWARE Gaming.
I kind of expected it coming as well, especially after they've got the Athena. You don't want a Raijin to be in tow with that one as well. I expect another mid lane mage ban. They may even look at Scylla here, even though I wouldn't really focus on it, but I think I was wise to go with Scylla. Just make sure Chapo wasn't comfortable on it, because Chapo had a great game on that.
They're going to ban out Scylla from AWARE Gaming, and Neith banned out from SoaR Gaming.
Yeah, interesting ones from those two as well. Susano onto Brochacho this game in the jungle is going to be interesting. His Fenrir game last time round, you saw it. He did manage to find many Unchained. Obviously, he was behind early on, but the Unchained was a little bit off the mark. Susano a little bit more difficult than Fenrir, I want to say. It's very more important for the rotations with your X-axes to make sure you can spin around quickly to get away and engage with these damage-dealing abilities.
Hey, Hindu. That's a who you.
It is a Ho Yi.
God of Geometry coming in, but Osiris picked for AWARE Gaming as well. How is that Osiris-Ravana matchup?
Well, early stages, it can go either way. Ravana should be okay in that lane and even bully a little bit earlier than Osiris. However, a lot of players in the scene actually like the Osiris versus Rava matchup as the game goes on as well. It still makes an impact against this squad as well, because take into account Athena melee, Susano melee, Raven melee. Already, if you can get the tether off on Osiris and those three targets, they don't have to get stunned for it to be effective, because it reduces damage done.
Exactly. So, last pickup for SoaR Gaming going to be the ADC with Geb more than likely. Soul taking up a lot of damage space. Her 2 taking up half that lane.
Well, we can see this time around, AWARE have the same issue that SoaR had last game. Where is their real tower shred? It's going to be all on Sol, though. I mean, Sol is a little bit better than what we saw in Freya the other way, however, but it's a very magical heavy composition here, relying a lot on Nemesis for protection shred more than anything else.
I feel like Soul's going to be able to self-peel for herself a little bit easier with the Disapparate, but Vulcan getting locked in as the last pick for the boys in red, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into game.
Yeah, start the game though, let's see. It's going to be Osiris and Nemesis up against a Ravana and Susano, and the question is, do we see either of these two teams invade? And I think that's where we'll see both teams group up very quickly on this side to make sure they scout out any of these cheeky early wards that initiated AWARE getting ahead last time.
We're going to have a couple placed in, but for the most part, a little bit of damage coming out from Layers and Chacho, but both are going to disengage pretty good. Layers getting a little bit of damage.
Yeah, Layers realized there that Chacho, as Susano, is always going to outtrade a Nemesis in a straight-up boxing match with abilities. Guaranteed at level 1. The ward placement, though, coming out from both teams is just SoaR that have placed those ones deep on the right-hand side, which means that AWARE Gaming have to be very respectful of being invaded by the Susano and Ravana early. However, you don't really want to fight an Osiris in the early stages, so I don't think AWARE are worried about being invaded on that right-hand side.
LayersOD going to have to be respectful, too. Nemesis is not the most powerful in her first couple of levels until she has that ult.
It's not, but like I said, Dr. Lil Gabe's there on Osiris. He's going to be powerful enough for both of them to weather the storm if he's in trouble. The most part of this game, from what I can tell, is AWARE's plan is to sit back and wait for counter initiations, catch somebody out of position with the Nemesis ultimate, and have Zeus drop his on top. Other than that, though, they will sit back and allow SoaR Gaming to be the engagers, and then rely on Geb to peel that person out of trouble, and then reinitiate.
And that's a little bit of a change of pace than we saw from the first game. AWARE Gaming putting on the pressure in the first game, and now going to sit back.
And that's a different playstyle to try and do, which is very interesting to show the depth of AWARE's game knowledge. If they can find the game here against SoaR as well, with this style of composition, it's a completely different story.
Good shield coming out, going to get a discharge onto SoaRchapo, but not going to be able to activate that yet. Just hitting level 2.
Yeah, both hitting level 2, but I like what Chapo did there. Just step back, make sure he didn't take any free poke, and a nice answer back in terms of damage there. Still got a couple of minions to pick up. However, right-hand side, Chacho could be in a bit of trouble there, choosing to trade.
Gonna find the pull onto Layer of Death, and instead gonna be 2 men on AWARE Gaming taking out these Harpies in the mid lane.
Not a good trade from Chacho there, though, because he pulled the Harpies as well as Nemesis, and he got aggro from all 3, so took a lot of free poke for no reason there. Could have either taken that camp himself or just rotated with Chapo over to the left-hand Harpies instead.
I kind of like this mid lane matchup between the Zeus and the Vulcan, because neither of them really have a real legit escape, so it's a little bit more even.
It is, but at the same time, Zeus has a little bit more of an advantage here over the Vulcan, because your turret doesn't really exist in the game. Left-hand Harpies are being looked at.
Yep, coming around the back end, going to be able to find lots of discharge damage coming out, but 2-man pull coming out from Chacho as well. Very good pull, but now he's going to have to get out of dodge.
Yeah, Chacho did a good job with that pull, because if he didn't, they would have continued onto Chapo there, who already had stacks on him from the Zeus, as you saw the detonate come through. But this is a good work from AWARE so far, pressuring that mid-game early.
And AWARE coming around the back end, trying to take out the Harpies, and instead it didn't work in SoaR's favor. Once again, they get pushed out.
And these left-hand Harpies, though, you know, they're still eventually going to go the way of AWARE Gaming. They're the chain lightning, you've got to be respectful from Chacho. Got the taunt off, the pull in, but he didn't actually find the creep, which gives them the level 4 for AWARE in the mid lane.
Exactly. Going to return back into the mid lane, clear out some creep, throw down the turret, get a nice 2-man magma bomb. That meatball going to knock them both up. Now Chapo trying to come back in. Chacho, indeed. Lots of damage coming out from that discharge. Susano is going to be forced back.
Yeah, he's going to be forced back for now, but he's just going to go and do back Harpies. With Bumba's Mask, he's going to be able to sustain a little bit more, or even return to base here. He's not got anything to worry about at this stage of the game of being all-in. And that's what I was saying. AWARE don't have really any all-in potential here.
And, I mean, we're just waiting for that big spout of aggression coming out from SoaR Gaming. We saw a little bit with those Harpies, but for the most part, we haven't really seen a good engage.
Well, they don't, at the moment at this stage of the game, it's all about farming for the moment in the first 2 or 3 minutes, but you're right, SoaR Gaming need to be the ones on the offensive this game. With the Susano, the Vulcan, and the Athena, they have the possibility to do that, but the biggest problem is going to be making sure they do it at the right time. Because if AWARE Gaming get a golden experience lead here by just out-farming them, when it comes to that first engagement, they're going to be against an opposition that are going to be a little bit stronger than they may expect.
Indeed. Uzzy get a nice overhead kick out of the tether. Not going to be rooted, and instead going to be just fine back. Good slap fight coming out from the solo lane, but back in the mid, we're just really seeing a lot of passive farming, like you mentioned. Nobody's I mean, SoaR Gaming in a position where they can sit and wait,
and like
but
I said,
SoaR aren't.
Well, SoaR Gaming aren't there to try and fight really early on. They're there to farm up. Nemesis, she wants the levels. Level 9 is like a small power spike for her as well. But not only that, the more she gets, the better she'll be, obviously item-wise too. So just continue to farm up. And you can see the farm differential between the two junglers here, level 6 to level 4. This is going the way of SoaR for free right now.
Yep, just hit level 5 now, so you can already see the differential numbers there. But for the most part, Cape's getting a little bit of damage, going to get tethered as well if he's not going to get the tether on if he keeps it up. But once again, Ravana getting out.
It's fine. Don't worry too much about the solo lane. It's just going to be a fight fest between the two. But these right harpies may be looked at by both members. However, you can see wrapping around the back is xBoronic here.
Chacho going to get that Athena ultimate channeled in. Here comes the Zeus ult as well as the Vulcan. Not going to be able to knock anybody out, but everybody's so low. Osiris coming in the back, but Uzzy going to be able to take out two now.
But SoaR showing their experience there more than not. That Athena ult coming into play and the Vulcan ultimate at the same time. It pinned xBoronic in a really awkward position. Do I step into a Vulcan ultimate or do I eat an Athena ultimate that will probably be coming to a taunt as well?
And I mean, there was the Zeus, there was the Athena, there was a lot. Two men fighting here against Uzzy and StormyRays. Cabe's holding his own for now, going to get the slow, and then the ultimate onto the StormyRays is going to be able to find him. Another kill going for SoaR Gaming, finally putting him on the map.
To the Doctor there. Doctor realizing he could 2v1 that. At first I thought it was a small misplay from him because he was ignoring Ravana, who was just punching him in the back of the head the whole time, but he still realized he could commit and pick up Athena, so StormyRays folds and gets Dr. Little Cape on the scoreboard.
Gonna rely on his attack chain to go ahead and take out the rest of these creep in his lane, but Ravana free to go ahead and rotate as much as he wants. Good secure of the mana camp down below as well.
Yeah, it's just about to get Geb over on the map now. You're going to start seeing the supports making an impact in the game now. The 3v3 fight in middle lane is going to start to ensue, but SoaR really showing that they can be aggressive with their aggressive composition here, and SoaR Gaming haven't found an answer just yet. Yeah,
XBoronic is going to be able to take down those left mid harpies, but looks like he's going to get chased as well as Uzzy taking a lot of damage. Forced into the purification is the LayersOD taking out Uzzy. Zeus forced into the purification, and there's 3 members of SoaR Gaming staring down at him, barely getting out.
He got his purification off, but it was a good play from xBoronic just to hold his own there as well at the same time. And Uzzy, obviously falling down, stayed around a little bit too long with low mana there. Nemesis just rotating and picking up a kill. This ends up working out in SoaR Gaming's favor again. Just getting that free kill for nothing. It was 2 free kills that we've seen go the way of SoaR Gaming that SoaR didn't really have to give up.
A little bit of cheeky poke onto the Susano from Doctor. He's got a really good map awareness, and he knows exactly these paths because he's probably run them himself before.
You say that, but he's going to be very careful about Ravana coming back in there. xBoronic getting a bit too aggressive though, and he just jumped in, and now he's under a lot of pressure under the tower. He will get away for now, but he's going to be forced back to base.
Barely getting by the skin of his teeth, but now here comes Uzzy, going to find the route onto Doctor, forcing the ultimate away from any danger.
Yeah, a bit of a crazy fight between the two over in the solo lane. 6 minutes in, seeing these two solo laners and the junglers go so hard in the solo lane is so funny in these early stages of the game. But for now, it's not going to matter too much. I'm mainly focused on Chapo and StormyRays combined in the mid lane here. The combos that they can put off together could be absolutely insane. Taunt into Meatball, into Backfire, into Vulcan ultimate. Very, very useful.
The Wombo combo abilities are OP. Please nerf. But looking over at this fight here in the mid lane, it's going to have that shield as a good zoning tool to keep SoaR Gaming from continuing to be aggressive, even into the tower.
Well, the good news is because of that first blood going the way of SoaR, they do have a bit of control here. Look at the speed buff on this right-hand side. Taunt does connect. It looks like the speed may have been contested, but StormyRays bit off a bit more than he could chew, and the Vulcan ultimate off the mark.
LayersOD throwing in that ultimate, able to shred as well, but now Geb shield is going to keep Doctor safe for now as they keep chasing Uzzy into the Fire Giant pit.
Oh, around the corner though is Vulcan at the moment. It's going to slow down SoaR a little bit more there, and I like the ultimate over the wall from Uzzy. However, StormyRays under pressure in the mid lane here, going to force the Backfire out back to his teammates, but round the back comes Dr. Little Cabes.
Doctor going to get pulled by Susano, a good deterrent, and Athena coming in just in case, but continuing to dash forward is the Athena looking for the taunt. Doctor in a very rough spot. The Geb shield is now gone, and he's got 2 men on his back.
How is everybody still alive in this engagement overall there? I like what we saw about StormyRays though, because he ulted to mid lane, immediately pressures mid lane to make sure nobody can rotate around to support the Osiris on the right-hand side there that was under pressure. Osiris self-peels for himself, however, though, so everybody survives for now. The gold lead is still around 200.
The slows coming out from that Osiris were so impressive. That's what saved his life, that slow coming out from the sickle.
It's also the damage reduction from the tether as well. Everyone always overlooks the damage reduction from the tether, but it always makes an impact. Not just one target, but all of them. You've got to basically clock on yourself then. Do I want to get stunned if I stay around any longer?
Doctor taking a little bit of damage, a little bit behind from his laning partner as well, a little bit different from what we saw from the last game.
Ozzy's showing his experience against an Osiris though, because like I mentioned, that tether, if you can overhead kick at the right time, you avoid the stun and potentially turn the pressure back on here. But Cabes is pinned under that tier 1 for now.
3-man rotation to the left, mid Harpies is going to be able to take that for the boys in blue. SoaR Gaming going to be able to take that and get a little bit of experience.
It's fine for the time being though. I'm just checking with the Hunters and just keep an eye there on Despair. Playing the Hou-Yi this game, working towards the Devourer's Gauntlets. Hou-Yi gets changed in the latest patch, but that's not on console just yet. That's why you can still see him here. Not going to have the Mark of the Crow. This time around, there's going to be a little bit reduced in penetration, so he's still a very strong pick on console.
SoaR Gaming prioritizing those fire imps over on the right side, and maybe even a gank coming out onto the Osiris. We see, looking at Susano just waiting in the wings, but Doctor's going to sniff that out from a mile away.
It's all about the blue buff here. That's what they're after doing, and that's why you see Uzzy going under the tower. The problem is Brochacho waited long enough that now the rotation from SoaR is here, and Brochacho's in the world of hurt.
Here comes the Nemesis ultimate. Kenshin going to get credit for that kill. Absolutely shredded was Susano, and Chacho going to be on that respawn.
I like the idea that SoaR had though. Invade the blue buff, Uzzy pressuring the solo lane so he can't go over, but they didn't respect the fact that SoaR was eventually going to come over to that blue buff. There was nobody showing on the map there, and Brochacho had his back to the enemy. He paid the price.
Good vision coming out from SoaR Gaming, backing off when the Athena was coming over, and now going to be able to slap fight with Hou-Yi a little bit more. But here comes the ultimate coming down. Ricochet only going to hit once, forced into the disapparition. Still wants to keep fighting though, getting a lot of damage onto Despair, forcing out the dive bomb.
That was great work from Cameron there on that SoaR, just putting the pressure to him, avoiding a lot of the damage from the Ricochet. But now there's going to be a rotation round, potentially one more time for Despair here. However, SoaR here to defend as well, and now Geb could be in a bit of an awkward spot.
Yep, Kenshin coming in, instead turning around, going to set their sights to this Gold Fury, at least fight around it. Good Cataclysm coming out, looking for the fight. Lots of damage. Chacho trying to teleport away, but he's not going to be able to. Lock down by Layers of Death as the Supernova flares.
Notice the focus onto Brochacho this game. He's only level 9 in this one so far. Nemesis has a much better lead over him, and they just keep trying to pick off the jungler again. They started this in game 1, and they continue it in game 2, and now they're looking at the Gold Fury.
SoaR Gaming shredding down its HP, looking very low, and in the meanwhile, keeping Chapo on the bend, forcing out the Sanctuary and taking him out as well. The only one here at this point is StormyRays, and he's in a pretty bad position. And now he's going to get pinched.
Goes to SoaR, and StormyRays goes down too. A lot of the Afterlife online for SoaR again, and they're starting to pin down the boys of SoaR. Look at the Ravana under a lot of pressure here. Has no ultimate to escape, so XBoronic gets himself another kill, and it's a 3-for-0 exchange as well as the Gold Fury.
Now, while Despair really couldn't help out a lot, I do want to mention there was a beautiful Ricochet coming out. Hit 2 times, bounced off the wall, provided a little bit of zoning too.
Hey, a Ricochet is cool and all, but if it doesn't kill someone, Tiger, or it doesn't influence the fight, that's all there is. You can have highlight reel plays of a Ricochet, but if you still lose the game, well, it's not much of a play you want to show to your friends, is it?
Exactly, because we're 8-2 right now, 11 minutes and 17 seconds in. Gonna get a 2-man pull is Chacho, but gonna go ahead and disengage. The game is still going in SoaR's favor.
And it's because of these counter fights that are going on more often than not from SoaR. You saw SoaR Gaming looking to be initiators, but they walked up to the Geb when Geb was alone, realized that Nemesis and Zeus was right behind him, tried to disengage, and Geb went, no, I'm gonna make sure I ult you. I'm gonna pick on the assassin, that squishy jungler one more time, Susano, and pick him off.
SoaR Gaming taking out their own damage camp. SoaR Gaming haven't got to the point where they've been stomping around the enemy jungle just yet, so they're safe getting that experience for now. But if they don't really get a hold on this game, they're going to get caught with their pants down.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, for now, this is just good from SoaR Gaming. SoaR got off to a great start with the first blood and everything that started there. But slowly but surely, SoaR, once they got that trio together with the Geb, the Nemesis, and the Zeus, things have started to spin around. And so I feel like they're kind of struggling with their new roles more often than not here. I'm not sure whether the communication's as useful as it used to be. Obviously, with Brochacho in the jungle now, it's a different atmosphere than when Chapo was there.
Chacho rotating in, not going to be able to lock down Doctor, is going to be able to sniff out that gank attempt from a mile away. And at this point, Geb here just in case, but maybe able to get something happening to Uzzy.
I mean, you're going to poke him out a little bit, but it's not going to really kill this guy on the right-hand side. And with Geb being there, it means there could be pressure elsewhere.
StormyRays taking that pressure in the form of Nemesis and XBoronic. XBoronic getting taken out immediately. Vulcan ult not going to be able to take anybody down. xBoronic taking a lot of damage from the ult coming out from Chacho, but xBoronic still going to be able to take him out, and then the detonate taking out Chapo.
xBoronic picks up a 3 kills overall for absolutely 3 there in the mid lane. Take into account that was a 3v2 engagement, Nemesis and Zeus versus all 3 of the core of SoaR. Geb was on the right-hand side there, Tiger. She wasn't even there. It's just those 2 alone that just fought 3 members and won a big team fight.
We're 13 minutes in, SoaR Gaming. What do you do?
At the moment, I'd honestly just stop trying to initiate and farm up a little bit more. Yes, that's kind of what Aware can do, though. All Aware can do is kind of counter-initiate. We said that at the beginning of the game. If you don't initiate, then Aware can't do it themselves. But the problem is that once they start hitting level 12 here, Aware, you may see the blink come out from Geb, because that's what I'll be looking to do with how this game's been going.
Doctor going to get rooted out. Uzzy coming in with the, going to get tethered if he's not careful. Overhead kick is going to keep him out. The get out of damage, free kick, a little cheesy, but the Athena ultimate is being channeled, forcing out Doctor's ultimate, but here comes a Mystic Rush as well. He's going to get pinched between 2. Shidwell going to get a little bit of damage. Here comes a taunt, and he's just stuck.
Yeah, the taunt is just very wisely held there from Stormy, but Cabes is still tanky enough to hold on for now. The tether will slow him down. There's Geb's appeal, and in the end of the day, a couple of missed hits coming out from the SoaR boys means that Dr. Little Cabes will walk away. An apple a day keeps the Doctor alive.
They were so close, and they invested so much, 2 ultimates in, and they still weren't able to take him out.
I mean, the Gebby Shield came up at the right time, but at the same time, Osiris with the tether, remember the tether coming into hand one more time, and it causes a couple of issues for them, as well as, obviously, Ravana here going for a bit of a tankier build as you'd expect, so not as much damage as you'd like up against the Osiris. Disapparation
is forced on the duo side, but Kenshin going to force his own Geb Shield on himself. That could have been messy for Aware Gaming, but so we're going to go ahead and back off.
It's all about getting those right-hand harpies. That's all it was there for. Geb's not too worried about it, and that was a play from Chapo looking for a hot one over the wall where nobody could hear it. But now, because the ultimate's down, look at the collapse coming out from Aware.
Yep, here comes the ultimate Cataclysm at max range, going to be able to take him out, forcing out that Sanctuary, and the Zeus ultimate going to try and find any bit of damage, and Geb Shield to keep him safe. Layers of Death, deep in, a little too deep.
But Bro Chacho is here, and he's looking towards Zeus. Immediately with Sanctuary away, he's forced out one more time here, and I love the play that came out from Zeus here as well, holding onto that chain line and detonate combo to make sure he could get the extra damage off onto Vulcan. It wasn't enough for a kill, but by forcing these members back, they can now look at a tier 2 tower.
Pulled Kenshin in. Maybe if he'd pulled a little bit of a squishier target, he might have been able to find the kill, but instead, looks like Aware Gaming are going to find themselves a lot of damage onto a tier 2 tower. Uzzy is here with a teleport, so that's Aware's Gaming call to go ahead and play it safe.
But while they're playing it safe, look what's happening in the other lanes. You've got both of your split pushes going on. You've got Osiris taking a tier 2 right. You've got Sol keeping Ho-Yi at bay on the left. And now Little Cabes, though, under a bit of pressure one more time. Let's see if they can kill him this time.
Doctor forcing out that tether once again, and then the ultimate over the wall, but chasing him is Uzzy with the Mystic Rush of his own. Once again, we're going to find him in the same situation, but with one extra. And now Uzzy
forced out once again. The Athena ult is down 2. The rest of Aware switched around to the left-hand side, realizing that everybody went right on the side of SoaR, means they can get a free 2 tower, and it comes up once again Aware's favor.
I mean, that was what, 3 towers?
Yep.
That was 3 towers. Aware Gaming. Fantastic control of the map, good communication. That's now 8,000 experience and almost 7,000 gold in favor of the Blue Trunks. And it's 11 and 3.
Yep, and they're still switching things up a little bit here. They're a little bit worried about the Vulcan ultimate being available for this Gold Fury. That's why they kind of back away there, with Athena being on the cards as well for StormyRays. You can just taunt them in, cause them a few issues. So they'll just take the tier 2 tower here and continue to pressure. They'll wait for SoaR to make the mistake, you know? We saw Chapo ult over the wall on Vulcan looking for a highlight reel play, and when that missed, that was their moment to go aggressive onto him, knowing there wasn't going to be as much turnaround damage as you may have hoped.
Exactly, and now this is Aware's game currently. They're just going through their jungle, taking their creep, taking their buffs, bleed out the jungle so SoaR have nothing to go for.
It is, but also wait for your ultimates to come back up and your relics again, and then you can look at the Gold Fury one more time, and that's why they're heading over there now. Nemesis is going to make sure the Gold Fury isn't being done before she heads back to base. And just continuing to farm up. The build's coming through, though, and a nice little build coming out from Osiris here. I actually like the build that Cabes has got. Obviously going for the Igval for a little bit more damage and penetration in it, but at the same time making sure he has some magical defenses, sorry, magical or regeneration at least, to say the least.
I like the height of the Nemean Lion, too. Going to bounce back any physical damage he's getting out from his lane partner, but we're going to have Aware Gaming really starting to look around this Gold Fury. With nobody here, they're just going to go ahead and start it.
No, it's going to pull this one up straight away. Bro Chacho and Ho-Yi collapsing from either side. Dispel come around one corner. Geb's covering the other option, though. And Vulcan is on that side, too, but Golfury gets reset for a second.
Waiting on them to go ahead and try to come in for the bait. Here comes the Nemesis ultimate, looking for the Vulcan in the back line. Not going to be able to chase him down, plus the sprint was popped.
But look at the damage LayersOD did on his own there to the Vulcan. Going to force Vulcan back to base in the mid lane. Chapo back in base means that he's not got that ultimate available. However, they know this to SoaR, so he stayed around, and now they're looking for the steals.
Two-man taunt coming out from StormyRays, and a Vulcan ultimate over. Not going to be able to lock anybody down, and instead StormyRays getting locked down himself for Layers of Death. Supernova is coming down, and xBoronic going to be able to take out Chacho. The Nine Suns are raining down, and Cameron going to be able to take out Despair despite so.
Meanwhile, right-hand side, Uzzy still split pushing, but little Cabes can't pick up Chapo on his own there. Chapo did a good job of self-peeling, but he can't peel for the tier 2 tower, as his teammate on the right-hand side does get a tier 1 here. But watch what SoaR Gaming did there. Their communication on that Vulcan ultimate coming through, they split wisely to make sure that if one of them got hit, it wouldn't be all of them. In the end, none of them got hit, and then they turned it around with Geb initiating. This is a very good squad. SoaR looks fantastic here today.
They're really turning some heads right now. Going to get rooted is Cameron, forced into the disapparation, and going to go ahead and play a little safer. They got one Phoenix, they got the tower. Maybe they can go ahead and back up, finally get that Gold Fury.
The Gold Fury is still on the cards. That's the funny thing about this, because that was where the dance all ensued. It was SoaR Gaming that forced SoaR to come onto them, and when they did, they made them pay with 4 lives and a Phoenix.
So with Uzzy, he was split pushing, taking out that tier 1 tower in the solo. Should he have been in the fight, or is that just like the last thread to hang on?
I'm pretty sure his teleport was just down there for Uzzy, so he couldn't actually rotate over. And if it wasn't, then maybe the call was just get some global gold for this fight. We're behind anyway. Try and put a bit of pressure on and keep them busy, and also catch up on levels.
Doctor feeling the pressure right now between 3 members of SoaR Gaming. Uzzy gonna get credit for that kill. Once again, getting pinched.
Yeah, Cabe's a little bit too far forward, a little bit too often. I think he's feeling himself because of the fact that he keeps getting out with very low health. But then every now and again, he bites off a little bit more than he can chew. The rest of his team weren't even with him then, or even in an area to support him. So him going down kind of slows down SoaR from doing anything else for now. The good news is, though, they weren't going to really look for the 5 giants straight away. They would still at least have to ward up and clear the area first.
After that, I mean, after the Gold Fury, after the Phoenix, we're going to be looking 19 minutes and 48 seconds, 14-4. SoaR Gaming sitting pretty nice, fed, and happy currently.
Yeah, you mentioned Uzzy as well, though, about that split push and solo lane. It may have been better for him to actually be with that team, because he's the one with all the kills in his squad as well. Him not actually getting all those kills means that he needs some extra help. Look at the 5-giant burst. Yeah,
they're just going to melt through that as quickly as possible, but Uzzy going to be able to root out xBoronic, one of the main damage dealers. Here comes the Supernova, and instead that's going to be along the belts of SoaR Gaming.
They get that, and then they're going to clean up the fight too. Forced out is Uzzy, but there waiting is Dr. Cabes round the corner. Chapo from the mid lane could come round as the sun's rain down from Despair on one side to try and slow them. Uzzy will get collapsed by Lord of the Afterlife. Forced out again. Meanwhile, Nemesis on the back is dealing with Chapo, making sure Chapo can't get in the fight. He'll find that kill. And meanwhile, the rest of SoaR going to march on, look for the final pick, and they could end the game off this right now, Tiger.
Beautiful zoning coming out from SoaR, but it's not enough. SoaR Gaming are running with this momentum, taking down this Titan, shredding it like they've shredded every single objective in this game. We're looking at 35%, 20%. It's going to fall 19-14, 20 minutes and 51 seconds into the game. That's a 2-0.
Relegation hopefuls actually became SCL players and managed to beat SoaR Gaming. Obviously, SoaR has had some roster changes, though. Let's take that into account. Roster changes for SoaR, new positions for some of their old role members as well. The only one still in the normal position is Uzzy on this squad, I want to say. However, that is a fantastic performance from SoaR Gaming. They've fought through the Challenger Cup, got into the Pro League, but that was a great play overall.
Great play indeed. 2-0 for SoaR Gaming. But I want to see some clips.
Well, let's have a little look at xBoronic then, first of all, because I think he's one of the most important people in that game. xBoronic's position on the Zeus and the actual amount of damage he got off in that game was absolutely fantastic. And this is actually in the early stages here. This was a 2v3 fight in the mid lane that we saw earlier.
And we saw the Nemesis ultimate coming in, but he was able to lock it down with the use of the discharge. Going to be able to sidestep that Vulcan ult and still be relevant with his ult as well.
But look how much he got pressured onto there, realizing he had to juke it out, drop the ultimate in the right place to hit both of them too, and force them back again, and ends up getting the kills off that as well. It was a good play from those two in the mid lane. Like we said, Geb was on the solo lane there.
I mean, good synergy, good plays coming out, and even just having the presence of mind to know, yes, these ultimates are available. This is something I don't want to deal with, and going to be able to wipe half that mid lane.
SoaR Gaming take 2-0 off SoaR. I'm in shock about that one, but we do have Most Wanted versus them next, which could be quite interesting.
Yep, SoaR versus Most Wanted even. Going to be lots of prove there, and these teams are both both duking it out in an attempt to try and get to the hi-rez expo. You can get there too with tickets, hi-rezexpo.com. We're going to bring the next match to you here in just a second. Stay tuned.